Hi, folks. We're Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the issue of pettiness, spite, jealousy, smiling, slow, underhanded sabotage in the workplace, and to compare the differences between male majority or male dominated or male only workplaces and female majority workplaces. Now, I've had my own experiences here, but what brought this up as really a topic was a friend of my wife's got a job in she's like the administration manager in a factory, and it turns out she's the only woman working there. They're all men. They're labourers, apprentices, and so on. All the owners and so on are men, and so she's the only woman there. And I sort of would have thought that maybe that would have been a bit difficult to take. But she said, no, it's like a breath of fresh air, because the pettiness, the spite, the jealousy, the silly girly games that go on in a female only or female majority, or even where there's just a lot of women working, she just doesn't get any of that. The men just get on with the work and get on with the job. They don't play petty games of spite and jealousy. Some are apparently a little bit difficult when it comes to sharing information, like, well, why, Billie Jean, why didn't you do this? Well, you didn't tell me to do it. Oh, you should have known. There's a bit of that, according to her at least. And but otherwise, she says no. There are no dramas, no petty dramas and spiteful and jealousy stuff. Now, she's previously worked in majority female, where pretty much everyone's been female, or if they're not female, they're gay, or that sort of thing. So she thinks that spite is, it was, she mentions a time when a woman came to work at some place she was at, and this woman was a professional dancer of some sort, so she used to wear tight clothes and body hugging and short dresses, things like that. And at this woman's admission, she had great legs, and it wasn't unseemly, but the other women complained because it made them feel bad because this girl had great legs and they didn't, and that sort of thing. So the human resource department was sort of clicked into action to put this woman with great legs in her place, and she uses that as an example of the spite and the pettiness that goes on in female-dominated workplaces. So, now, there was a time, not that long ago, certainly in my lifetime, where if there were female-dominated workplaces, that the bosses were all men anyway, straight men. So they could keep a lid on the pettiness and not allow the spite and the petty jealousies to get out of control. There could be the undertone there, but they couldn't really do it. They didn't allow it to sort of start running the place and to be the raison d'etre of how the place was operating, on how much spite and pettiness there was. Now, this was interesting to me, because here's this one woman supposedly surrounded by all these fascist Nazi straight white males, and yet she thinks it's fantastic. She likes it. There's no pettiness. There's no carry on, and she's said this is the first job she's had that has been where she's been the only woman, and she wishes she'd discovered. It's like she's discovered a new world, a secret world and she loves it and wouldn't exchange it for anything. So anyway, that was a sort of interesting. Now you think, according to the feminist sort of line and the globalist propaganda line and the people that own our institutions these days, that this woman working with only men is the most oppressed creature in the whole universe ever. But she sees it completely the opposite way. And she's from what I can see, at least, reasonably independent and so on. So it's not like she's some little shrinking violet, far from it. So this is her view, that even though she's the only woman in a male dominated workplace. Now she does concede and doesn't seem to care about that, because it's an all men, particularly in the factory and so on, that they use profane language between themselves. But she doesn't care. The value that she gets out of this, that is a drama-free, harassment-free, trouble-free. She doesn't have to look over her shoulder all the time to see who she micro-offended, who's going to come after her or start some whispering campaign about her, which is what women do in the petty, spiteful jealousy thing. So she thinks it's great anyway. Now, some radical leftist, gender studies ideologue probably wouldn't see it the same way. And they may complain, well, why aren't there more women here? Why, and this sort of thing. But she sees that she has a much better, less trouble-free, less harassment, drama-free existence when there's only men there. I doubt she's having a relationship with any man there. So it's a straight-out work thing. The pettiness, the jealousy, the spite is largely, as she would see it, absent, and by her experience, absent from the workplace. Now, I noticed this sort of even as a kid. One of the first few jobs I had was, this is while I'm still at high school, I was working with pretty much only men. Not that it was perfect. The boss at this warehouse I was at, he was a dickhead and everything, and himself a pretty petty guy in the sort of games that he played. But other stuff when I was working on, say, a landscaping crew, it was all men, and manual labour sort of jobs, But the pettiness and spite was there. Then I got a job at this one was just walking distance from my place, so I preferred it, so I didn't have to catch public transport to go to work, which always I thought was a pain. But this is when you're 15 years old or something. So and again, I'm still a student at high school, but so this place was down the road. It took me 10 minutes or so to walk there. And it was a pretty good job just for being close by. But it was in this grocery store, women were in the majority, and checkout operators and that sort of thing. And so it was a different world. And I noticed straight away how you had to be very careful what you said. It's very easy to offend somebody. I'm not talking about speaking out of turn, profane language or anything like that, but you could say something that was willfully and deliberately misunderstood and misconstrued and then used. And the running around of telling tales, these women seem to love going up to the manager. Oh, Billy Bob said it. Billy Bob. Oh, guess what Billy Bob did? And I hadn't I'd seen a bit of that at high school because I was at co-educational high school. But it was a different thing in the workplace. There was women were using all sorts of schemes to justify them, not wanting to do the job or slacking off or couldn't be bothered. They were quite skilled at avoiding accountability and avoiding responsibility. And this was one of my early lessons in the workplace, something that it really hasn't changed that much over time. And now it's very widespread throughout all of the business sector, because what hitherto were pretty much only white male workplaces, all where women were just receptionists and the like. It's now 60% women, and nearly all of those are affirmative action and diversity appointments. And I don't just mean the big bureaucratic organisations where and women quite rightly said, well, look at these big bureaucracies. There are all these incompetent men there. Why shouldn't we have a piece of that? Why shouldn't incompetent women be in those jobs in the big bureaucracies? Why must incompetent men have exclusive monopoly rights over that? Now, the pushback should have been, okay, let's get rid of all this patronage and nepotism and whatever and let's have a rigorously enforced merit system. But in the end, nobody really wanted that. In the end, the trade-off was, okay, well, we'll give you half of all the incompetent bureaucratic type roles, and in return let's forget about merit entirely. And that was the deal done with the devil at the bureaucratic level, but also even in medium-sized companies now. We'll give you government contracts and let's all forget about the meritocracy. Yeah, let's do it. But I noticed that the pettiness in the workplace where women were in the majority, which they were in these, it's like a grocery store chain, that sort of thing. And so I found it. I found it even as a 15-year-old, well advised to keep your mouth shut and say nothing and smile and nod and whatnot. Otherwise, you could be accused of some form of disrespect or something that was so difficult to define that it was. But the managers liked the idea of, and this was part of the corruption of that process. The women understood that the manager liked the idea of being a big tough man, sticking up for the little woman, protecting the little woman, and so what the managers used to do was an attitude that was around at the time, that they would come up to any guy, and there were other guys my age are working there, and come and say, "Hey, Billy Bob, I want to see you," or they'd send someone to say, "Tell Billy Bob I want to see him." Ooh. And so you'd go and you go, "Yeah, well, I hear you've been talking to Billie Jean." Yeah. What do you mean talking to Billie Jean? Well, Billie Jean came to me and said that you were very rude to her. And you're thinking, I don't remember being rude to Billie Jean. So, well, I want you to go and apologise to Billie Jean, and I want you to do it right now. Apologise what exactly? Oh, you know what it was. And so the manager liked being, and if you sort of looked a little bit sort of bewildered, like what is it I'm supposed to have done or said, the manager would jump up, he'd come right in front of you, like his chest touching yours, he's getting right in your face and standing going, yeah, you want to fight me? Yeah, going, I'm a big tough guy, took a little woman. And so it creates a sort of a knock-on corrosive effect in the workplace when you have this sort of pettiness and spite going on. No, I would never allow it in places where I was the boss, and wouldn't have it. No. You say Billy Bob's been rude to you. What exactly did Billy Bob say? What did he do? Okay, what are you doing? And by the way, are you doing your job? Let's have a look at how you're doing your job. And as soon as you sort of talk to them about women about being accountable, they suddenly wouldn't want to talk anymore. They only want to come to you if they can rile you up and get you. Oh, I want you to go and beat him up for me. You put that guy in his place for me. I want to show him my power, that I can go to the boss and get the boss to give him a good kicking. Same as I can call the police to come around and throw the guy out of the house because he won't buy me a new lounge suite. It's the same sort of dynamic that goes on in many other ways today. So when I look through looking through this idea of pettiness in the workplace, my first exposure to it was, the first time I saw it was in a female majority workplace, and it was a lesson that I sort of learned, that you had to be very careful in a female dominated workplace where it's at the same time you had sort of fake faux machismo management, where they were there to protect the little woman and so on, and the corrosive effect that had generally. And it fed very neatly into really equity programs and so on, that wider architecture dynamic of interactive behavior. Because when you have this sort of pettiness and spitefulness on behavior, there's plenty of places for people to hide to avoid responsibility and accountability, which was again another knock-on effect of equity and so on across the business sector. That there are now many more people who are skilled at avoiding accountability and responsibility. And something I noticed, that any woman who was getting say an employee evaluation, which everyone got and everyone had, and it was the annual or sometimes 6 monthly or quarterly, whatever, evaluation, and had to do that, the amount of women that would open the conversation of this is of the evaluation. They would open the conversation of, they'd sit down with this sort of haughty, conceited manner and say, well, I know you hate me, and you're going to give me a bad evaluation. And that will be their opening comment. You haven't even got the word one yet. and the thing was that men didn't do that. Men didn't say, you hate me. That's and I would say, well, Billie Jean, why do you say that? Why do you say you're hated? Why do you believe that? And you ask them, I don't know. But again, responsibility avoidance. Now, when you promote people and give people jobs or give them responsibility or create a certain workplace dynamic, responsibility avoidance becomes a device, becomes a go-to set of behaviors. And that is far more prevalent in female majority workplaces than in male. You rarely see it in male majority workplaces, but see it universally in female majority workplaces. Doesn't matter whether it's a public service or private company or whatever, but it's something that you see, and it's had a horribly destructive and corrosive effect on Western wealth and the ability of the Western business sector to create and generate new wealth. You've been a Tacitus today at your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.